Welcome to Dr. Russ Air Rifle Adventures. It's just a little part of this gun collection I have for air guns. I've got powder guns too. This is the window that Dr. Paula often shoots out. But the real purpose of this video is this compressor right here. This is why I drove down to Georgia, saw Zach and ARES, and I wanted to save on the shipping, and I was going by there to visit Donnie FL anyway. But Zach was telling me about this compressor he has, and that's the real purpose of today's video. This happens to be, I'm told, the same compressor that Air Venturi sells for about $750. Of course, they've got a square frame on it, but I thought it was interesting that good compressors need some oil to go in them, and they sent the Air Venturi oil with it. But what Zach did was he took this handle and put it on versus the square frame, cut some weight out, and dropped the price for about $200. So that's what got my interest. Well, up here we've got the 4,500 pound per square inch air tank that I have, and then we have a small Hatsan compressor that I often take to the field with me. Right beside it here is a device that you connect to your cigarette lighter, or your car battery, and it converts the power of 12 volt to the 110 that this needs. Here's a small Hatsan tank that you can take out in the field with you too. That'll be good for a couple of refills. This is an interesting thing. You have got to have this lid with this tank anytime you transport it, because my dad tells a story. He was traveling down the street with a steak truck in front of him many years ago, carrying a bunch of these, and one of these broke loose, fell down and hit the street and broke this off, at which time it became like a torpedo. It zoomed past his car. He looked into the rear headlight, a rear mirror, and saw it go down the street and right into the door of a company there. So this protects this, which is what you do not want to have fall out of a car or truck, that's for sure. Over here are three tanks that I have, scuba tanks. Boy, they were, I actually have four. I have a fourth one in the basement where I have another shooting range for indoor. But here's three that I have up here by the rest of the guns. And they hold 3,000 pounds of pressure. So that's some of the fun we're going to be discussing today. So this is my little office, my shooting office here in the home, and often a place where Dr. Paula comes and does her shooting too. But we'll have some fun today. Let me tell you about hats. I try to wear a different hat for each of our videos, and this is video 69, so maybe I've done that, maybe I haven't. But I got a comment from one of the viewers. He said, you know, you don't have to wear hats. We figured out that you have a bald spot up there on the top of your head anyway, so why don't you just take it off? Well, I don't have a bald spot, and I don't have a problem with people who are bald. But I thought I'd just take this off for a minute and let you know I really do have a head of hair. I was born on the border, El Paso, Texas, right with Mexico. And that's what I'm wearing today, a Hispanic hat. Porque yo hablo español un poquito, pero mi esposa es muy bonita. And I speak a little bit of Spanish. Well, let's talk about air, because that's really what you want. First of all, let me talk to you about brake barrel rifles and springers. They just take the air from the room. You don't need tanks. You don't need compressors. And assuming that piston or that spring is encompassing the same amount of air each time, some might believe you've got a regulated air gun. And maybe you do. I don't want to argue that point. But pretty much the same amount of air going in them. And that's why a lot of people with brake barrels and springers are just fine with those guns. For those who get on into PCPs, oh, you need air then. And some of you bought a pump. I didn't do well with the pump. It was a lot of pumping. And by the time I got the gun all pumped up, the squirrel was gone, the rabbit was gone, and I was so tired, and the gun was shaking a bit. I decided pumps aren't for me. Might be for you, but not for me. So that's when I got into air. Let me tell you about these tanks behind me. I found them on Craigslist. I found them on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of people get into scuba diving and then find out that's not for them, and they sell them. Now, typically they're all scratched up, and they were originally painted in a bright color, bright yellow, bright red, and they're silver. And the reason they was once you get down there about 30 feet or farther, you want to be able to see each other, and that brightly painted tank is what you want. Well, I couldn't leave it well enough alone. I got the tanks, and I took some SOS pads and I sanded them down. I bought one, and then two, and ended up with 4. And they were all different colors, so I sanded them down, and I painted them a metallic gray. Kind of made them look like a gun, a business thing. I didn't want them to look like scuba tanks anymore. And they work well. Now, there's all sizes, but the bulk of them come in either 80 cubic inches or 100. I've done a little scuba diving. I don't want to be an expert there, but typically those 80 cubic inch, they'll hold about 2,000 pounds per square inch. And the 100, which is what I have here, they'll hold about 3,000. And they'll fill up a gun probably 40 times, 50 times. And that was good. The bad was that you've got to run these over to a scuba shop. And the nearest scuba shop for me was about 30 minutes up into the Flint area. And I had to go there during the hours they were open. And in winter hours, they often compress their hours. But it worked. And it was about $7.50 each time I filled up. And then I knew I needed a compressor, could just stop running around. So that's when I got this Hatsan over here. And this cost me almost $400. And it makes a lot of noise. I think I can, I've got the power, I have the power undone. But at any rate, it makes a racket. First of all, you got to have the fan on before you start, and then you run the compressor, and then when you're done, you let the fan run a little longer, because compressing air creates heat, and you want to get rid of that heat. These little compressors will not fill a scuba tank, but they will fill a gun, and they do serve their purpose. And these conversion devices that will take a 12 volt out of a car and make it 120 for these is good. That works. And they'll even have a little trouble filling a tank like that. I've done it, but you got to watch that heat, if you will. And then came this larger compressor. Now this compressor goes clear up to 4,500, which is what this tank requires. And it will do a tank as long as you don't run it for more than an hour. Now inside these little ones, the inside guts of them, 9 times out of 10, come from a Chinese company called Heng Seng. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you'll find them on the internet too, without the box, and that's good. Probably get a little cheaper than what you see here. This is not made by that company. This is made by the Shanghai Davy energy company, as you can see here. And it's really for 3,000 psi up to 4,500 psi. Another way of saying that is 200 bar or 300 bar. If you look at it pretty good, the one from Pyramid Air that runs for about 750, it stays cool by oil. But you've got to be careful how long you run it, because oil doesn't keep things cool for long. Underneath here is a bucket, and a 5-gallon bucket. I painted it brown. These round pieces of wood you'll find at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're about $5-6 a piece. And I put it on the bucket of water. And these hoses here will circulate that water and keep this cool. So you can use oil with the ones that you buy off the internet from places like Pyramid Air, or you can just get the water cooled ones from Zach Matthews from Aries. I'll give you that contact information. I don't make anything on these. I just went down and I was able to get it. He sells them for $5.50. But what I want you to notice is right down here, 2 cylinders, not one. All these others have one, and boy are they small. You'd have trouble putting a thimble of thread down inside of one. These are larger, and there's 2. And that's what allows it to fill up much larger tanks, if you will. Right here is a pressure gauge, and this black indicator can go all the way around up here to the 4,500 psi to fill something up. On and off switches. But again, the only warning is don't run it for more than an hour. And this little device right here, you say, what in the world is that? Well, that happens to be just keeping track of the ambient air temperature around it to make sure we're not getting too overheated. You've got to use the right kind of oil. Air Venturi would tell you that. Somewhere in this manual that comes with it, they just tell you to buy, let me see if I can find it here. Yes. Lubricate, ISO grade, they want 100 to 150, and SAE 40 to 50. That's all that they say. They also recommend a brand, Mobil 827/829, or the equivalent of Mobil. Mobil's famous for synthetic oils. Maybe that's what that is. I don't know. But it works. And while this one here makes a noise like clang, 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 this one doesn't. It does make a noise like thump, 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 but it's not clang, 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 clang. And I like that. And I think I probably could fill up every one of these air guns here to satisfaction with this thing. I wouldn't. It'd take me all day and turning it on and off to get that to work, if you will. I'm looking below my shooting deck here. And some of you might ask, well, what in the world? Are you shaving there at your shooting station? And the answer is no. One of the viewers sent in and said, you know what you want to use as a target? You take these foam cans and you light a candle behind them. And when you shoot it, foam goes everywhere. The candle lights that pressure gas, not air, gas. And so you get a little fire and you get foam. We'll find out in next video or two when I show you some of the exciting targets we're going to be shooting at this coming spring and summer. I hope this helped you on the many ways. Air isn't always free, and so you want to get the right places for it and the right amount, the right pressure. Meanwhile, if you enjoy this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe and make sure you find out about those targets, subscribe. And know that I got a full head of hair underneath this hat. And we hope to see you next time.